Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming here. I'm hoping that you've all had a chance to enjoy the food and get drinks. A couple of points for those who missed it. The bathrooms are out to here and to the right. We don't expect any fire alarms, so if you do hear a bell, please take it seriously. And I would like to welcome you all to the very first Launchpad session in association with Digital City, an event to celebrate local leaders, entrepreneurs in the Tees Valley. I would like to thank enormously Scott Watson of Digital City and Steve Dugan and team from Launchpad who've made today's event possible. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Fabulous people doing fabulous things for this place. And I am very excited to welcome here tonight our two first panelists, Clover from Wonder Films. Hello. Hey. This incredible human being was in the very first cohort I ever delivered here in Teesside 4 years ago, and I have been watching your journey with so much excitement. Incredible things you've done, Chloe. You and Lee. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bruce Slater.
Hi, guys.
From Radical Forge, who again, right here in this town, has done incredible things. So I'm really, really excited to have them here tonight. So I'm going to hand over to you. Let's start with Chloe. Can you tell us, please, your story, how you got to be here?
How long do we have?
I'll give you 5 minutes.
Probably less considering when I got here, right?
It's all good. 2 minutes.
Yeah, so, hey everyone, really cool to be here. In fact, I'm absolutely honoured to be here, so thank you very much. Launchpad, Digital City, Jackie, Bruce have been a massive part of our journey, so it's like, yeah, it's really, really special to be sat here, so thank you. Yeah, I'm from Wonder Films. I'm the co-founder, myself and Lou Tonner. She's way more special than me, so she should definitely be here, but yeah, check her out, she's amazing. So we started 4 years ago. God, that's crazy. So we started 4 years ago. We identified a gap in the market whilst we were travelling the world, I guess, which is where wonder comes from. We were wandering, and we realised that businesses didn't know how to promote themselves online, didn't know how to create really great content, and didn't know how to speak to their followers and their audience in the right way. And we had like some skill sets that could really help that. So that's what we did. Started making sick videos as a way to travel the world. And that was really cool. We did some amazing things, got lost in some caves, nearly died a few times. And then we realised that if we really wanted to make this thing grow, we needed to come home to Teesside to put everything in it to really do that. So we came back, which was the real start of our journey. I think was when we came back home and met Launchpad. Since then, we've grown to a team of 18, working with some amazing clients, like Riot Games and Panasonic and BBC, so really cool stuff. And yeah, now I'm sat here.
That's amazing. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Bruce, can I have you tell people about your journey?
So our journey started mainly with the name. So the name of Radical Forge really means we make things and we do it in a radically different way to everyone else because we think everyone else does it in a stupid way. That's the honest truth of why we're called Rad Forge. And also we like skateboarding and stupid extreme sports. That's part of the studio's culture. But we started in Launchpad when there was two of us. It was me and Freddie. I had 2 failed businesses out of Launchpad already, so I'd been there for 3 years already, skateboarding up and down the office, annoying Steve and Lizzie when they were in other meetings. I distinctly remember being told off a few times for that. And then there was two of us. Then there was 4 of us. Then we moved from Vicky Road. Because it was getting renovated, and we moved from there to Boho 5, which is where we are now, and we took a room on the first floor. Then we took more rooms on the first floor. which meant that we were growing, and then we took the entire 5th floor because we grew too large. Then the pandemic hit, and I was left in a room by an entire 5th floor of a building by myself. So that was pretty joyous. And then the pandemic eased up, and we had 50 of us at that point in the studio, and we kind of were like, shit, we're gonna need more space. And Wanda here had just moved out of where they were, which was below us on the 4th floor, to their lovely new office. You should definitely go check it out if you can get an invite. That is, it's very exclusive, I hear.
We accept anyone riffraff.
Yeah, I'm just messing. But yeah, so we did that, and then we are now 80 people, bordering on 100 in February time. I hired 2 people today.
I feel like that deserves a round of
pretty
applause,
cool.
right?
Like,
That's nuts.
Yeah, and as far as the studio goes, we made games like Gang Beasts, Rust, Minecraft Dungeons, Sea of Thieves, Zombie Army Dead War. I could go on with 50 other indie games you've probably never heard of. But we've worked on a lot of stuff and some films that we can't talk about, which makes me really sad. It makes me sad. But yeah, that's basically how we got to where we are and what we do and what we stand for. That's
incredible. Thank you, Bruce. Let's give him a round of applause. I'm so excited I've actually heard of some of those games, so that's really good. I would like to, in a moment, open it up to the audience for questions, but first of all, I do have one of my own. So you guys have both been on a rocket ship ride for the last 4 or 5 years. It's been incredible. What does it feel like?
I want to get off. Is that like joking? Like there's part of me that's joking, right, when I say that, but harsh jokes are always like in the realm of truth. And I didn't realize when we started the studio, and I'm sure you have this feeling too sometimes, right? When you start the thing that you want to do, you're like, I want to do this thing, and we want to make these things, and we're going to do this, and we're going to be the best place we can be for these people. And then things get big and things spiral out of control, and you're like, our companies are at the stage where the rocket ship has taken off, and you're not going to turn the engine off when the astronauts are halfway towards the top of the atmosphere, are you? You're not going to do that. So it's more about like controlling the ship now than it is like building the ship, right? Does that make sense? When you get to a certain size, it becomes a very different ballgame, and the mentality that you have to have as a founder and a leader changes. You have to change from thinking, this is what we were like when we were 20 people, how can we keep those core values, but do that at 100 to 200 people? Because that's what we're currently thinking about on our side. And it feels weird. To be honest with you, it's weird because I'm like a punk rock skater kid that looks like Fred Durst without the snapback, you know? So when I rock up to certain business events and people are like, oh yeah, what's your annual turnover? And I was telling Lizzie this today, actually. I went to a business event a couple of weeks ago and everyone was wearing suits bar me. And they were like, this was in Manchester. And they were like, so what do you do? I was like, oh yeah, we make video games. And they were like, oh yeah, cool. And they assumed that we were quite a small outfit. And then they were like, so what's your turnover? Because that's the business question. You gotta pop a big business when you're at a business thing. So like our turnover's about 2.2 million, 2 million a year now. And when we hit that, right, that's cool, right? But like, to clarify, that's not enough, right? To do what we want to do, it is not enough. But when we hit that, when you say that stuff, they don't expect it to come from people like me or someone like us. And I think that's what Launchpad's great at. It's great at building leaders for the next generation of business that are outside the standard business norms. And I think we're a good example of that. I think you're a better example than I ever will be.
Thank you.
Yeah!
Thank you, Bruce. Chloe, what does it feel like?
Yeah, I definitely echo like so much of what Bruce has said. I think for us, like, I definitely don't feel like I want to get off. I'm like really excited to be where we are. Like, and we're starting to remind ourselves more and more now to reflect on how far we've come, because we spent a lot of time thinking that we weren't far enough, we hadn't done enough, we weren't good enough, we weren't doing the things that we were supposed to be doing. And I think now we're starting to realise the importance of looking back or even just feeling the present and being like, geez, like this is nuts, this is crazy, and enjoying that rocket ride to the moon or another universe, whichever's furthest away. But yeah, and I think that sort of on your point of like thinking differently, I think that's really cool, because we do, like, that's one of the things that we found like the most scary and the most beneficial to our business as we've been growing it was that being 100% at all times authentically us. And I think, yeah, like we said, that's something that you do so well, and I think that really is changing the way that people do business, like to not have to wear a suit or a business dress if you do not want to do that, if that's not part of your personality or part of your model. To have the confidence to just be you is a really, really special thing, and I think it's amazing what the rad guys are doing, and I think it really is changing.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I do know that through researching and looking at tonight's panelists, one of the things that's coming out is the authenticity. And that was actually, I'm going to open... Do I have any questions from the audience? I have... Yes, madam.
Almost a question from me. Bruce, thanks for sharing that you had 2 failed businesses. I love that. Not that you failed, obviously, but I like the fact that you kept going. So I'm just wondering, like, what was it that made you keep going? Because obviously a lot of people would have given up then. So, like, what was it that made you kind of, yeah, keep on?
So, like, the honest truth about that isn't as surprising as you would think, right? It is just, if you get kicked down, you're going to get up and do the same thing again, right? And the 2 businesses that I ran before, it's not that they didn't work. It's just, it was the wrong time, wrong people, like different things, right? And I was lucky enough to find a partner in Freddie, the tech director of Radforge, that was willing to go on the journey with me. So we just rolled the dice again. And I want to say that we got lucky, because we did get lucky. But I also, part of that luck was built off reputation gain and cashing in chips that we had for years and doing the stuff that we did as a team. And the other thing is, I could see that the games industry was about to go through a shift. I've been making games since I was 15. I'm 31 now. So I could see that the games industry was going through a shift. And I knew that we could have a bit of fun before the shift happened, and maybe we'd survive the shift. And then the pandemic hit and we survived the shift. But the real truth is, it's determination, having the right people around you, and trusting others. I put a lot of trust in Freddie, Red, and Monty in the early days of the studio. And I still put a lot of trust in those people and anyone that works in the company. Like, I can leave the studio and let them do what they need to do. Like, and that's the real key. Surround yourself with people that actually care about what you want to do and want to build the same thing. Because the one thing that I find utter bullshit about business is the CEO of a company holds the vision, right? It's fucking nonsense. The CEO of the company guides the vision of the team and makes sure the team stay on course of their vision, not the CEO's singular vision. Because if you have that, you become a dictator, and it will eat your team up and it will destroy them. Especially in the 21st century when everyone's on Twitter or on whatever. Because people could go anywhere and do anything. You want people to stay with you because they care about you as a leader. And that's the real reason. So you get people around you that you can trust, and you roll the dice again. And you shouldn't be afraid of failure either. I learned that from skateboarding now. Like, that's where I learned that from, yeah. No, it's a D&D thing. Yeah, I don't get time to play D&D anymore, but my team would shoot me Because they'd be like, you don't play D&D? And I'd be like, run to the hills. It's a business thing. Yeah.
Can I just ask a follow-up question from this one? How do you two recruit? Because you've both got amazing teams. You put a lot of trust in them. And to do that, you kind of have to know that you have the right people. So
I actually have no idea
can
how
you
recruit.
talk through how you get the right people on your team?
How we recruit?
Yeah, Chloe.
We recruit in a different way, for sure. So it's hard to say this when you're in a university campus.
We know what's coming, right?
We definitely look at someone's them. we look at who they are as a person. The first thing that we think about is are they a good person? And then we think, will they fit with our team? Do they have the same values as we have? Can we see it working? And then from that point, we look at experience. And by experience, that doesn't necessarily mean the job roles that they might have had. It can mean like the things that they've done in their life. Have they gone on an adventure? Have they travelled? Do they do this thing in their spare time? Do they shoot films in their spare time? Like that's huge, because that means that it's a genuine passion, and that makes a massive difference. It'd be like do they draw or do they play games, right? Like you know that person really wants it if that's part of their life. We don't always look at qualification. We don't always look at qualification. but that's also it. But people learn in different ways. And I dropped out of school when I was 15, and had a really rocky ride until I met my business partner and my partner. When I was 22, and my life was very different to hers. But she went to Teesside Uni, she got a degree, and she did it the right way, and we ended up in the same place. So I think that there's value in both things, but we don't always look at whether this person has the right qualifications for this job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a really informative, honest answer. Thank you. Bruce?
Yeah, so for us, it's not really a conventional hiring process, although now we're at the size we are, we have a conventional hiring process. And that's really fucking boring. So I'll tell you the honest truth. I hired a coder called Jack 2 years ago, and I hired him at a festival called Slam Dunk in the pit at Zebrahead. No joke. I met him and I was like, Jack, I've known you 5 years. Do you want a job at the studio? And he went, yeah, mate, let's ride. Like that's how it went down. Like we have people at the studio that have joined the studio through loads of different means. Jack's story is a weird one, but we have a traditional hiring platform and a traditional hiring method, and that's awesome, right? But we also have people like Jack or my best friend Derek, who never really joined Radforge, but has always been around. And every time I traveled to another country on a games trip, I would take Derek along because I knew that if I was trapped alone in a subway with him in the middle of America, it would be a hilarious time getting out, right? So the old Radforge way was to do that, and there is still an element of that in our interviews. One of the guys that I hired today, for example, three of my team, the junior team that we have, went and did a talk at 9 a.m. this morning at the uni, and I went to go see that talk. I then left that talk. I was on the call for the interview with the guy that I wanted to hire as a concept artist, and I was walking back through Middlesbrough while I was on the interview, and by the time I'd got back to my house, I'd hired him. I didn't even look at my phone. Like, he was on video call apparently the entire time. Didn't look at my phone once. But I asked the questions that I needed to ask and got the answers that I needed. So, like, we're not really a conventional place when it comes to hiring. And I don't write this on the, like, whiteboard when you walk into the studio, right? And we don't have this on the website. But Radforge is a place for misfits. And if you're not a misfit, you're not going to fit in. That's the real truth about our studio. And that's what makes the team so creatively brilliant, to be honest with you. I hope that answered that question.
I love that answer. Thank you. So much to pick from both of your brains here, like talking about the hiring processes versus just talking to people and getting to know them, right?
So if you're not a misfit and you won't fit in, are you discriminating against like normal people?
Yeah, we are, actually, yeah. So if you're just a standard normal person and you like your footballs and you don't like your video games, you can apply for sure, but there's a high chance that we'll send you to another studio. Not because we don't want you there, but because you'll be a better fit for the studio and place. It genuinely does come down to the person that fits the team and the team ethos. And the other thing about our hiring our hiring process, I guess, is I actually let the team do most of the interviews. Like that interview that I was on this morning, the 2 artists that would be working with our concept artist every day were on that call with me, and I sent them a message on Slack being like, do we hire the dude after we'd had the call? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay, man, let's roll. Like, let's go. Because you trust your team, and you want your team to feel like they're involved in the people that you've hired for them. Because it's not about you. I actually said this earlier, right, when we were talking. If you are a leader of a company or you are doing anything, you are in the position, like, okay, right. So I'm the CEO of Radforge, and I've just said earlier that being CEO means that you don't have to. You hold the team's vision, not your vision, right? Radforge is not my vision anymore; it is the team's vision, and that's a shift and change that you have to have. But it also means that the way we operate at Radforge is different to every other company. It means that I'm in the position that I'm in as CEO because they exist and they do their jobs. And without them, I am nothing. Does that make sense? So you need to respect your team in the position that I'm in and understand and let them know that every day. And that is an uphill battle because you can always fuck that up. Just by walking into a room and being like, it's the wrong colour blue. I've done that twice. Hilarious, I can't even see colours.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, let's take another question from the audience. Who has a question for these fabulous people here? Do we have another question? Yes. Is it Sophie? Sophie. Did everybody get that at the back?
Is this working? Yeah.
Yes.
If you could go back and tell yourself something when you started your business, what would you tell that version of yourself?
Everything will be okay. Like, just take a minute, breathe, and everything will work out. I said something the other day actually, and I was speaking at an event which Sophia picked up 2 awards. Who sat over here, by the way, so it was like, yeah, it was stellar. It was
We'll
great.
be hearing from you later.
And I said something, and a couple of people came up to me afterwards and said, like that they really needed to hear that, and I think more people do need to hear this. Like, we've all heard when it rains it pours, right? But there is always a rainbow waiting around the corner, and I swear down it's true. Sometimes it can feel like, my days, it gets so much. And even in life, this isn't just in business. In life, it feels like it's one thing after another, and you say that all the time. It's one thing after a bloody another. And my mum says that a lot. And it does feel like that. And sometimes it gets really dark, but always, there is something waiting. And I think that I would reassure my very anxious self that everything will be okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah.
Bruce?
My joke answer would be don't. But the actual answer is probably a lot closer to, you've got nothing else to lose and nothing else to actually live for, so ride it out. Right, because the truth is there are certain people on the planet that have to have a reason to exist and a cause, right? And at the time when I started Radforge, I didn't know that I needed that Does that make sense? And I need my team and my studio to have a purpose to do a thing, because it's either this or I just become a surfer bum. And that would be terrible. Like, I would have a great time, but everyone else would be like, that guy smells. You know?
And also you are both employing a lot of local people, which is incredible, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, that's like, that's such a driving factor, and that was like, again, like when we knew that we had to come home to do this. Like the other day we were looking out, right, because we just got this studio, like we think it's really cool, and it's got like a table tennis room / board room, and we were sat in there and it's like got clear glass, and we were looking out and there was like just like our team, they were playing this really cool game where they were like they like to stand in it, I don't know, I'm going way too far, I'm sorry, but where they all like to stand and play like this ninja thing, so you all like to stand there and then they would like have to like hit each other without the other one knowing, and like they were just having like literally the best time, and Lou and I were just like looking and like, holy shit, like, can you believe that like we've allowed this to happen like here? Like, not that it doesn't happen in other places, it does. I just mean that like we've had a part in creating something that we would have wanted to be at that wasn't there before we did it. Like it's an amazing feeling, and we feel so passionate about growing talent in our area and retaining talent in our area. We can't keep losing the best people, the best businesses, or any people to London and Manchester and Leeds and wherever. And it's something that you can do it here. We can do it here. There's a place for us, even if you have to make it yourself.
Thank you. Can we do you want to answer, or can I take another question from the audience? Come on, anybody at the back? Shall I start calling names? I know you want to ask something. You do. Yes, sir. What would you like to ask?
Okay, I got 3 questions. So, how do you get to start a business, or how do you get to run a business with individuals, or get people recruited into a business? You have an idea, a business idea, but you don't have the capital. Just like what you said now. You want some people to work with you, but you don't have the capital to pay them. So, but it's an upstart, and it has a good prospect. So how do you get people to key into your idea, and either you pay them or you don't pay them, but believe that the business is going to grow, and eventually you'll reap from the capital you're making?
That's a really good question.
I got it. I got you.
I got this.
Okay. So yeah, it is a really good question, but the honest truth is, when you're building a business and it's more than just you want the people to be with you, like I said, 100%, and you want them to buy into the business, not what you're doing, right? Not you as a person. You want them to buy in, but you also have to. There's a other side to this. You also have to be a personality that people want to follow, and you have to be a leader. And that's not something that happens naturally overnight, and that's not something that just happens to everyone, right? Like a lot of people go on different journeys and different paths to become leaders, and some people are a leader at 12 years old, and some people are leaders at 50. It doesn't matter where on the journey you are, where you hit. What matters is that the team that you're with and the people that you're talking to, and you're talking about joining your business or doing a thing with them, they're in 100%. It's life on. It's their blood. Like, they bleed that shit, right? That's the only way for it to work. And if you don't have that, it's going to fall apart. And as someone who started a few businesses before Radforge, that's what made it fall apart. It wasn't that the team weren't good at what they were doing, and it wasn't that they weren't there. It's the fact that the team didn't have 100% belief that we are going to be fine and make it through this. And the flip side of that is, I was an arrogant arsehole for a little bit. when I left university. If you can believe it. I know, shocking. But like, that's the biggest thing I learned. And I would say that that's what you need to do. You need to get buy-in from those people that are closest to you in the business, because they will then look after you. You look out, like at Radford's we have a saying that says people, culture, money, in that order. You look after your people, they look after the culture, the money follows. That's the working theory. And we're 5 years in and we're 80 people, and it's working pretty well. So you need to kind of try and hit that limit.
Yeah, 100%. And there's like some practical ways in which you can kind of approach it alongside that as well. Like I would 100% recommend if you're not already speaking to Launchpad, because they really, really supported us in the early days, and we were actually still in Launchpad when we got our first employee. And that felt freaking massive. I was like, oh, and he's still with us today as well. He's our lead post-production manager. So he's incredible. So like, if it's like how would you fund that job? If that's maybe part of the question. There's you can think about stuff like investment. You can also get support from. Often there's schemes running that part fund jobs as well, which is really cool. There's always interns in the uni that can really help out when you're really beginning. Apprenticeships are really great because you actually can develop that talent. So it's somebody that would come in that wouldn't know really what to do, but is another pair of hands that you can really help shape and develop, and hopefully they stay with you as well and you give them the opportunity to. And I probably shouldn't advocate for this, but if I can just be 100% honest, like Lou and I did not pay ourselves for like the first year of our business so that we could reinvest into our company and bring people on. And even when we brought our first couple of hires, and we were paying them more than we were paying ourselves when we did start to pay ourselves, like it's not always the right thing to do, and I'm not saying that like you should be grafting that hard and paying other people more than yourself, but really, like, you'll find that a lot of founders actually do that. Like the early days, the first couple of years are really hard, and you make a lot of sacrifices, and that's one of the ones that we made. So there's tons of options there, and I'm more than happy to like chat about it afterwards as well if you wanted to come over or wonder and talk about how you actually take those steps.
On that note, Freddie and I did the same thing for a year and a half. Right. Do you remember, Steve, you were in the room with us, like when we got rid of Monty, the choice was pay them or pay us. So yeah, like obviously we're going to pay them because it doesn't matter. Like if the business survival matters more than what you're trying to grow is bigger, right? And if you can survive, and not everyone can, right? We were lucky that we could, but we'd also built a small war chest from something else that we worked on for a while. So yeah, the truth is we also did that. I don't want you to feel like you're alone in that because we also did that. I don't want you to.
Oh. Next question from the audience, please. Yes, the person over there, can we get a mic to them?
Hi. How important are the issues around diversity and inclusion in your recruitment process? And how diverse and inclusive are your teams? Thanks.
Fabulous question.
This is a really interesting one, actually, for Radforge, because this happened by accident, just by who we are and by nature. But we've had people join our studio because they wanted to transition, and that's an incredible thing to have. And we had people join our studio from other places and other countries. Hi, Michael, it's nice to see you. We've had people join from other countries and other places, And one of the problems that we have, the northeast of England, is mainly white dudes. It genuinely it is, especially in tech, and that's not great, because our culture in our studio isn't really about that. Our culture is about, if you come to the Radforge office, we have art from all throughout video game and movie history. We have like video game history, art history, and a bunch of skateboards from other people. And our team is more diverse than most games industry teams, but it is not good enough. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that we're fucking perfect, because we're not. It's not good enough, and it's not something that is an easy fix as well, because the staff that we need to come into the studio have to have a certain skill level as well, right? You can't just join at the studio and then train them up. So we do stuff like, for example, right, I was slightly late to this because I came from the bus station where I dropped a girl off at the bus station who used to be a student at Teesside, who's wanting to rejoin the games industry somehow and doesn't know how to do it. So I spent the entire afternoon with her, showing around the studio, being like, speak to these people that we have in the studio, speak to people that were in a similar spot to you before they joined us. But I can't do that with everybody. And Radforge can't be the only people that do that. And it's an ongoing problem inside the tech sector we have in the Northeast, that I don't fully understand a way of solving. Like, I can't think of a way of solving it properly. So the honest truth is, I don't think it's good enough, and the Radforge team is pretty diverse, but I don't think it's good enough, and I can only apologize for that. That's really where we're at on that.
Thank you. That's an honest answer. Chloe?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. Respect to Bruce as well for that. It's something that's really important to us. We pride ourselves on having a diverse team and being an inclusive team and culture as well. So we were asked this recently, actually, and we figured out that over 60% of our team identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community, it means nothing. Like, it genuinely, that means nothing, and it just like it just kind of hit us in that, like, it's about the people, and however, there's got to be fair opportunity, and that's where it really matters, and that's where I think a lot of the industry really needs to work at. We also found out as well that our team was over 50% of our team identified as neurodiverse as well, which again, like, shouldn't mean anything, but these are things that you need to think about and you need to be aware of as you grow in a company. Like, what can you do better? How diverse are you? How many experiences and different ways of thinking do we have in our team? How many cultures, the different ethnicities and backgrounds? Like, all of that's really important to grow in a really strong company. And I think the conversation around that is becoming more and more important. And I think that's it's really special.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you. Another question from the audience, please. Oh, yes, sir. Can we get a mic to the gentleman there?
Before starting the company, how did you compromise with the team of the business codes?
Can you just repeat the last bit of that for me?
So before starting the company, so you might form a team. So how did you compromise the business codes, or how did you discuss to make the company started?
Okay, cool. That just happened naturally for us because of who we are and what we do. I can't really tell you we had like a sit-down board meeting with minutes or anything like that, because we didn't. Like, when you start a company, you don't give a shit about any of that. You just do the thing that needs to be done to make the company. And the truth is, I sat down in the Southfield over there with Freddie, and we talked about what we were going to build and why we were going to build it, and then we built it. And Freddie is, I wish he talked more, because I wish he could sit in my place, and talk about his journey with us, because Freddie's the youngest CTO in the games industry at the size we are. He's 26 years old, which is a crazy place to be for the size that we're at. And me and him just sat down, my man. That's what we did. We sat down and we talked about it. And if you are thinking about stuff like that as well right now, maybe the people that you're trying to start a company with are not the right people, because that shit should be unwritten for at least for the first year anyway. Everyone should be vibing it out, and it should be a feeling, and then you find out what that is. Does that make sense? Now that worked for us, but it may not work for you. I very much understand that advice could be shite, and I am sorry if that advice is shite.
Chloe, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I echo Bruce, and also similarly, have a business partner that doesn't like to talk at things as well, but definitely should. I think when starting out, like having a plan, goal setting, managing risk, all of those things are absolutely essential. When we first started, we literally we do a lot with visualization, and it wasn't until super recently that I kind of figured out that that's what we were doing, because we just thought we were thinking about things that we wanted to do and then doing those things. But in actual fact, I guess what we were doing was really identifying the places we wanted to be, the things we wanted to achieve, and crystallizing that with like detail. And then once we find where we want to be, we put the detail in, we imagine that we're already there, and then we talk about it every single day. And it's almost like manifestation, right? The more you talk about it, the more you think about it, it will just magically happen. It's not freaking magic. Like, it's a fact that it's a conscious effort on your brain is consciously thinking about it so much that you make it happen. So visualization and manifestation have become trending words, and it wasn't until this year that we realised that that's just part. It's a fancy way of saying you think about shit and you get it done, and that's what we do.
Thank you so much. We have got 2 minutes to keep this on track, so I'd just like you really quickly to tell us, what is it about Tees Valley that's producing business leaders of tomorrow? You guys are going to be going on to employ people. And I know you mentioned the Southfield. I did pick up my husband from there crying one day, wondering what the hell had happened, but it was Borough had been relegated, but we won't mention that. So, it's a really important place in this area, but what is it about Tees Valley that's producing people such as yourselves?
I've been to a few networking events in Teesside, and that question gets brought up a few times. And one of the things that people say about it is like, people in the region there, they just don't give a fuck and they just do whatever they want. That's what people like, and to make the thing happen. And that is a shite answer. Every time I'm like, no, it's not that. The reason is because the fucking south of this country has completely destroyed the north of England. And it's because the people up here actually give a flying shit about where they live and what they're doing. And the reason they want to fucking stay here is because it's beautiful. Roseberry Topping's beautiful.
Hello.
Half the goddamn town over there is fucking beautiful.
Let's hear it for Roseberry Topping.
And people want to stay where they live, where their connections are, and where their families are, and they want to build their life here. And the past 10 years, 12 years of government that we've had, and general, even before then, we're talking Blair era stuff, has completely annihilated what the north of England used to be. The north of England used to be a goddamn fucking powerhouse, right? And the only way to bring that back is to bring leaders back and bring back an actual sense of tech and new technology into the area, whether that's people that fly in from other countries and start their own businesses here, or fucking grow up here and do what they need to do here to make it happen. And that's why people are here, and that's why I'm still fucking here. That's the actual answer. But the actual, I've said all that, but really it's because people in Borough don't give a fuck.
Chloe, Can you finish this off? Can you?
Sheesh.
I agree with you, Bruce.
I'm so sorry for ranting.
This place is incredible, right?
Yeah,
Chloe?
I'm back at 100. I think I've thought about this a lot actually, and I think that there's one thing that makes the Northeast and Teesside in particular really freaking special, and it's something called underdog syndrome. Like we feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like you're always backing the underdog. Like you always want the underdog to rise up and to overcome and to win. And I think that's our mentality with ourselves. We see ourselves as an underdog. We don't think we're as good as London. We don't think we're as good as Manchester. We don't think we're as good as the rest of the world. We don't think we can be international or global. Or we don't think that we can take the fuck over. But we actually really want to do those things because we back the fucking underdog. And if you see yourself as one and you back yourself, like you're freaking unstoppable. So we have underdog syndrome. I'm gonna hashtag that.
Thank you very much to these two fabulous people. Bruce Slater, everybody, give him a line. Yes. And Chloe Clover of Wonder Films. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for giving up your time. Thank you for jumping off the stage. You could have skated off. Guys, can we just hear it one more time for these fabulous people? What an incredible, the honesty, the authenticity, the values that they don't just talk about, but they actually bring to life every single day. And what they're doing for this area is just incredible. And that leads me to the next person on this panel. I would like to welcome, if we could, a really big welcome to Jack Atha. Come to the stage. Jack, hi. Yeah, take a seat here. And there's your mic.
How do I follow that?
Hey.
Let's do rock stars at the parents.
Is this yours? There you go. Okay. Well, I'm really excited to be speaking with Jack Atha.
On my own as well.
And we are, you know what? It's the ones that come that count, right? So, Jack, tell us about your story. How do you get to be here? Where have you come from? What have the last 5 years been for you?
Oh, God, well, it's definitely not me on my own, obviously. So first of all, obviously, you probably have no idea who I am. So I'm Jack Atha. I'm 50% of Atha Brand. It's essentially a property development company. It's not quite as rock and roll as this. It's going to sound really boring, probably. But
No, we don't do boring.
No, but yeah. So it's my twin brother Tom. He's not here. He's Bell, but we're not talking about people not here, are we?
About people who aren't here. It's their loss, right? You're going to go out, you're going to stick it on LinkedIn.
He wanted to be here, to be fair to him.
LinkedIn, Facebook, everything. Tell everybody what a fabulous night you had, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Go easy on it, probably. Yeah, so it's sort of like how we started. So what we do, it's really quite simple, really. I don't really know how to glorify it. I'm essentially a glorified builder, I think, really. Essentially, we sort of start, all we really do is we, I don't know how to sort of make this sound really cool, but we basically find houses, we buy them, we sort of renovate them. It's really Homes with the Hammer stuff. How we sort of got started is we probably have to take it a little bit back. It's more of a story about why we did it. We were at school, right, and the school was more, what university are you going to, not do you want to go to university, is there other ways for you, do you want to do apprenticeship? So it's sort of like, we were like, oh, well, yeah, I suppose, I don't really know what I want to do, like loads of people, so we'll just choose. So we had a look through the courses down in Protheroe-Hill. We thought, oh, where are the most girls going to be on this course, I'll be honest. Yeah. So we looked through it, and that was not a good tactic, all right, that did not work at all. All right, architectural technology, it wasn't working. So we literally only we went to Protheroe-Hill Uni, we lasted about sort of 3 weeks, probably 3-5 weeks, dropped out really early. It wasn't the uni, I'll say, uni was great, but it just wasn't for us. We're not academic really, we're quite practical people, hands-on. We want to sort of like leave, get involved, well, yeah, try and make some money that way. But so then what do? We thought, oh shit, I'm gonna have to tell my mum and dad now that I've sort of left uni. So
Was this both you and your twin brother?
Yeah, same
both
time.
of you leaving
of
together? Oh, wow.
Yeah, we do it well.
You poor mother.
I know, it's our relationship is really weird, to be fair. We do everything together, like, yeah,
That's really
probably
cool.
say no more, but we do literally do everything together. And yeah, we went home and we were like, oh, they're not going to take this well. Mum and dad not going to take this well. So we went there and obviously said, yeah, left uni. They were fuming for a bit. And they're like, oh, well, what are you going to do yourself? I was like, oh, I don't really know now. Like, I love building, love property, I want to do that. It's like, why are you going to do that? I was like, well, I don't know, I'll figure it out. So once it just sort of settled, we sort of went to them and were like, look, I want to try and get into property with people. It was like, oh, okay. So we had some family friends who were builders, and they lived on a farm just around the corner, really lucky, obviously. And they would convert some stables into holiday cottages. So we thought, oh, brilliant. It's like, and we asked them, like, oh, can we come and be your labourers for a bit while you do this? And they were like, nah. And we were like, oh, come on, we'll work out. We'll do it. They were like, yeah, we had no property experience at all. I didn't know the right way to hold a hammer. I didn't know what a Phillips screwdriver was. Anyway, they took a chance on us, and we had spent a year with them. But the whole point, when we got home, our parents were, oh, you're not coming living back here. No chance of living back here. You've moved out. So we're like, oh. So we went on eBay and bought a caravan for about $3,000. I was like, yeah. And then we put that on the line, really sort of standard homes under the hammer, sort of all grand designs. We put that on the line, and some it was class. Like this caravan, we decked it out. We had like TV in there, internet, like massive deck and barbecue. But in winter, it was horrendous. Like obviously, it was shit. So like literally condensation was dropping on. Yeah, it was horrible. But it was character building. It was a lesson learned. But anyway, so we spent a year. I'm sort of rambling here, but we spent like a year. Learning basic skills, like you've got to, like plumbing, like electrics and all this sort of like joinery and stuff. And then we thought that came to an end. So again, we're thinking, oh, what do we do now? So the only way to get started, really, it sounds really bad, but you've got to sort of like got to buy a house, don't you, to sort of renovate. So we thought, oh, well, I've got no money. Like I've got a $3,000 caravan. That's not going to get me anywhere. So it's like you've got three options really at the point. You can either try and convince a bank to like lend you some money, but I've got no income, I've got no assets, so they just laughed. And they were like, okay, fair enough. So then we can do a joint venture. Like you can either approach someone and say, oh, look, you invest in me, and then we'll do this together, but I've got nothing to bring to the table, really. I've literally just finished me labouring. So I was like, nah. So they were like, no. So I was like, all right. So we were very, very lucky. I'm never ever shy away from the fact of this, by the way. It's sort of like, so me and Tom, we put a presentation, little business plan, and we asked my mum and my dad, sit down, and we presented, oh, look, can I borrow, I think at the time we needed, it's going to sound a bit bad, but at the time we needed about £75,000 to buy a house, all right, in Middlesbrough, just down the road. So we're like, right, what can we do? And very, very luckily, they said, bear in mind this was a year after we told them we were dropping out of uni, so that was a hard sell, right? So they were still pissed. So we borrowed that money, and that gave us a really great start. So we basically bought a house off a family friend in Middlesbrough. It was $50,000 house, and we were going to spend about $25,000 doing up. So we thought.
And what year was that, Jack?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. We were 19 at the time, so it was. I don't know, what was that? 2010 maybe. Right. Okay.
No, 12 years
definitely
ago.
Not 2010. It was 12 years ago.
How old are you now?
30. I had to think about it. Yeah, 30 now.
2010.
Yeah. So anyway, it was about 12 years ago or something. So we rocked up. We had no van, no tools. We had a B&Q book, basically how to build a house. So we turned up and we were like, okay, we're going to make a right mess of this. But it took twice as long as it should have, cost more. It's like, did we make any money back for our investors? Like, nah, did we bollocks? We didn't make much. But we did rent it out as a long-term rental. So now we've got an asset and we've got a bit of income. We could then convince a bank to borrow against that. So we basically did that. Bought another one that we could leverage that, you see, so you can sort of refinance that house, take a bit of money out. I'm not going to go into all the boring
But
crap
did you know about that, or did you get help with that?
No.
You learned about how to use your house?
No, well, you sort of do that when you sort of go to these people. We did a lot of networking and this sort of stuff, but, meeting people, and basically they explained, we went to a bank and said, the only way you can do this is if you can refinance against that. So, yeah, you're right, the bank basically taught us how to do it. So we did that 4 times, and anyway, we built up enough cash reserves, and we thought, oh, this is great, nice little portfolio, sort of going well, but it still doesn't pay the bills. Like the guy said, we're still not really taking any money from this, with all the costs going out. So we thought, okay, well, we need to scale up, and I guess that's the hardest thing for any sort of entrepreneur or anyone trying to sort of, how do you go from where you are now, how do you then scale up? So we thought, well, we need to do something bigger. But it's actually, this point we were about 22, so we were still going around to all our mates' houses, sort of who were students, and they were all, terrace houses split into 5 bedrooms, all the students paying loads of money a month.
Were you still living in a caravan with your brother?
Yeah, so we were living in the caravan with brother for about.
I'm just keeping up with the story.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm trying to get a bit of sort of post about it because I'm trying not to waffle about it because it's ages. It takes bloody ages to go through. So it's we're still at this point. We do move into a rent house soon though, so our life is going. We do step up a little bit, but so we're still So we do that 4 times, and then we think, oh, so we go to student houses, and we think, oh, well, you know, each room is making more money, so then we borrowed some more money from the bank, bought 2 houses in Gresham Road, thought it was around the corner, sort of like student houses, and they were bringing in much more sort of return on capital employed, investment, all that sort of, and then you just build from there, really, and then I don't really know, our story is really lucky, we managed to sort of invest on that, and then we saw opportunities, like the council was selling a building, so we bought that, converted that into like 15 bedrooms again. I'm trying not to make this sound really dull, and then we sort of found another one, and then our big break came really, where this is sort of, you've got to sort of like take a lot of risk, I guess. We managed at this point, we're probably 4 years on now, so we're not in the caravan anymore, we've managed to rent a house. Yeah, so we told them we'd rent a house. So then we got to a point where we could...
Wait, so you own houses, but you're renting one?
Oh, I can't afford to buy the houses I live in. I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We're not making that much money. We're just We're just going with it. You know, we're just sort of You don't make that much. You just make a little margin, but you do it enough times, and hopefully the dream is. But we started to get a little bit more money in the back. You know, it's more of like an asset base. So we could then leverage against that. So we found a big one, right? So it's. The next big one that really was our turning point was probably about 3 years later after we'd done a few little ones as well. It was a building town centre called like St James House. Now this came up for sale, and we're talking big boy money here. And we're not really used to this sort of yet. But we basically went to the bank and we said, look, what can we do? This is our income, this is our asset. I mean, we're talking probably going from a 50 grand townhouse to 4 years later. This was about a £4 million project, really. This was a £1.2 million build, like buy, and then probably 2.8 build. So we're thinking, well, there's no way we could do this. But let's put a plan together. Let's go to the pub. Who knows? You know, we'll.
There's the pub again.
There's the pub. Yeah, there's quite a lot of alcohol involved, I reckon. Yeah. So it's like, so then we sort of put a plan together, and we realised that we could sell some assets we've got. We were making some money anyway, and we could plug a gap that they wanted. But it was going to take everything. I mean, this would probably, if it went wrong, it would have wiped us out completely. So this is literally leaving us for probably like enough for a meal deal in like the business like accounts, like just. So anyway, we managed to do that, and that was a success. But we got a big team in to do that. That was way too big for us. Like, you've got to sort of know your limits a little bit. And then, yeah, that went well, and then we sort of just grew from there. Really, I don't really know what else to sort of.
That's amazing, amazing. Give him a round of applause, just because he told us all of that so fabulously.
Well, yeah.
All right. So, what does it feel like, Jack, to have gone from living in a caravan, not knowing one end of a screwdriver from the other, to where you're at now? What does it feel like?
Oh, it's just a whirlwind, though, isn't it? Like, when you're in it, you can't really take time to sort of like, because the past sort of 12 years has just been absolutely 100 miles an hour. Like, everyone always says to you, and these guys are all the same, but everyone always says to you, well, why don't you take back and have a look at what you've actually achieved? But you can't, because your mind is running 100 miles an hour. You've got so many things going on. It's only when you do that and take a bit of time, you think. And obviously, I'm really, I'm proud of what we've built. It's sort of like, I'm really grateful. Me and Tom, we've managed to build a really good team. We've got, people, working with us now who are amazing. And it is what these guys have said, like, business is all people. Like, we have amazing people working for us, like, which helps. We used to do everything, so we were like the T-boy, the labourer, IT support, the builder, everything. But now I'm crap at accounts, like just rubbish at like accounting. So I've finally been able to afford to bring in like an accounts manager. It's awesome. Like, you have like a meeting now and they produce a proper set of accounts, and it's mind-blowing. It's class. You're just looking at this going, I could never have done that. And it's like, is that what we're bringing in, what we make? I don't know. So, yeah. So that's really cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, let's see if the audience has any questions for Jack. Who would... Yes.
God. Be kind.
Hi, Jack.
Hello.
So I'm really intrigued because, like you, I'm a twin.
Hey.
Twin brother. Very similar, it sounds like. But I don't think I could work with my twin brother. So can you just talk about the roles that you both have in the company and how it all...
Oh, that's a good question, yeah. First and foremost, like, no, not saying you're not, but he's my absolute sort of like rock. I'm not going to be really cliched and sort of emotional, but he is. Like, we're exactly the same. He's my best mate. We've lived together, worked together, like, I couldn't do anything. But there is quite more defined roles. I would say I'm a bit more creative. Tom's a bit more sort of structured, which sort of helps. So Tom's very good at the day-to-day sort of like almost keeping me in my place a little bit, because I'll be like, oh, look, I found this, I want to do this, I want to do that, and he's a bit like, well, hang on, let's actually think about it, and we're like, okay, all right, I still want to do it. He's like, yeah, well, hang on. So he sort of keeps the business more, he's a bit more sensible, I guess you'd say. So like, especially now we've got people in that were working with us. He's sort of very good at the day-to-day running of the business. I'm a bit more sort of creative with the idea. He won't mind me telling you that. I'm a bit more creative with the ideas. But I think it just really helps. Imagine going into business with like your best friend, constantly, like best friends. Like you can just bounce off each other. Like it's unbelievable. Like when times get tough, and they do get tough, like ups and downs, you can just rely on each other so much. You can sort of help each other out, and it's just. And we've always got the same sort of like focus. So like we're all pulling in, like these guys said, we're all pulling in the same direction. Like we've all got the same goal. We're just not quite sure how to get there. So we're just sort of figuring that out together. So yeah, it is weird. We don't argue or clash. We might fall out occasionally, but like so people will say that we don't fall out at all, which is probably gonna be a massive crash coming soon. Then. I reckon. Probably going to be a massive bust-up coming soon, but no, it's great. Like, the honest answer is I love it. Absolutely love it. Like,
that's fantastic. Yeah. Lucky.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Let's have another question from the audience. Who else has got something to ask Jack Atha?
I should have primed Sophie to ask me a good question, shouldn't I?
I do have some questions I picked up from the audience earlier. What do you see as the main priorities when building a strong culture in a startup business?
Oh. Well, it's just, I can't really say much more than what the guy said before, but it is just all about, you say the word culture, it's just, for me, and sort of like, I think so many, like the office, and like my office is just where I love to be, so it's my safe space, where we can be creative, we could just do anything, so you've got to find people who fit in to that space, like you've got to be able to, bounce off each other, rely on each other, say if I've got to go away for a couple of days, and I've got to leave a couple of people, just like, you've got to be able to, trust, and we do, that they're just going to, not piss about and like knock off, but they're going to be like focused.
Leading on from that, how do you recruit people?
Well, this is tricky for me because we haven't really recruited many people. Like it's not like these amazing sort of recruit. We twin, so that wasn't really recruited, but I didn't really recruit him. He was born with it. So like. Who else sort of like, I was very, very lucky. Now, some people say you've got to be a bit careful here, but I was managed to recruit my girlfriend, which has been great. Yeah, there's no tension, no, it's all right. And then we've got, I said, like accounts manager, and we've got another couple of people, but again, it's just you meet them, don't you? I'm very much based on, like, very trust-based. Like, you meet them, you talk to them, you say, look, and you just have a chat with them. Like, barely ever do we sit down and say, oh, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? What do you think you can bring to the business? That's just nonsense, I think. It's like, just trust them and, like, talk to them. And if they're like you, then, yeah. It's a hard question, because I haven't really employed that many people, to be honest.
Okay.
I've only employed, like...
Let's talk about what mistakes you've made and what you wish you'd done differently.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm probably not going to go into it. Some mistakes were made. The biggest thing that I've sort of learned going through this is try not to do everything yourself. Like that is the one, like probably the biggest mistake we've made recently. And a good example of that is this new project we're doing. We're currently undertaking a building. I'll tell you a little bit. It's a big project, so it's another 55 student apartments, whatever. So I probably should have a plug actually if anyone's looking for student accommodation. But it's a big development, and it is for us. And we decided to be like the main contractor. So being a bit tight, we were like, oh, we can do everything. So it's like, well, I'm not going to employ a site manager, assistant site manager, quantity. So essentially, Tom mainly ended up doing the job of about 4 or 5 people, and it's sort of like, I would never do that again, and the reason why is because financially it was like, okay, we saved a bit of money because these people are expensive, but the toll it takes on probably mainly sort of like your mental health and your stress. And he won't mind me saying this, but Tom had quite a bad mental breakdown, sort of like towards the end of like the project, and I actually found him. He was actually in tears in the middle of the town centre, and he's not that type of person. He's very positive, upbeat, but it just stress and like being overwhelmed builds up on you. So then from that point, we've always said, look, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it all. Like, get the people in, take the load off. Like, in order to try and push other people on and be positive for everyone else, we need to be in the right headspace. We can't be sort of, like that. So, yeah, don't try and do everything yourself, because you can't do everything yourself. You're not an expert at everything. It's like I said before, I'm crap at accounts. I'm not an expert at doing all that sort of stuff. So bring people in who can help you out and do it for you. And it's worth it. Like, okay, you might not have the financial capability at the start, but even in 3 months' time, if you just do it, take the risk, you'll be saying, why didn't I do that sooner? I should have done that sooner. But, yeah, so...
Wow, thank you for such an honest answer.
That's all right.
Audience, question for Jack.
Oh.
Yes, right there at the back. Can we get a mic to that person, please?
you. Hi, Jack.
Hello.
What's the end game then? All this stress, all this working at 100 mile an hour. Where's the work-life balance in all this?
Oh, that's a good question. No, yeah, don't get me wrong. There is a work-life balance. It is tough, especially when we're sort of on project and project. Sort of how our work tends to be really high-paced and stressful. Then it will drop a little bit. End game, that's a good question. If I told you sell everything, move away, I don't know. That's the fake. That's a lie answer, isn't it? Really. I don't know. I just like building I just love going to work. I just love building a sort of a culture. And I think the end game is to hopefully try and employ more people. And then this sort of game we're in, it takes a long time to build up sort of like a business like this. It's not just sort of certainly not get rich quick. So really, the honest answer is kids, generation, sort of something to pass down to them. But in terms of all the stress, it is stress, but as I said before, if you take a step back and look at it, it is worth it because you can build, we do have some downtime to, when the project is done, we can take a couple of months just trying to run the project and consolidate the business because it does take its toll, but end game, I've not even thought about that yet. I'm just sort of falling my way through project to project at the moment.
Great question, thank you very much. Thank you, Jack. Okay, any more questions from the audience? Yes. Can we get a mic to this person here? Thank you.
What will you advise me if I want to go into house investment?
If you want to go into what, sorry?
Housing investment. What would you advise me?
Just get stuck in. I'm probably going to contradict myself a little bit, but I'm talking about more sort of like building work here, rather. Try and learn as much as you can from everyone else, and the best thing to do is when you're making a start, try and go to as many networking events as you can. There's some great networking events I can sort of like plug that we're well part of. And you'll meet like-minded people. Like the hardest thing in that sort of game is your first one. How do you get your first house? There's loads of different ways of trying to get investment, and that's just being a people. Just talk to people. There's lots of in this area. There's lots of people willing to invest in business like ours, and everyone. You just need to try and talk to them and find them. But it's really first house, learn as much as you can. You will make load of mistakes. The house will, it will take a lot longer. But in terms of to try and grow the money, do your market research as well, but try and grow your money. You can do joint ventures. You can try and find people who have more experience and try and almost just hang on to them a little bit and then learn from them and then pick it up. But yeah, I hope that answers you. I'm not sure.
Thank you. You spoke about this area. Let's close with a question from the audience earlier, that you found success in the Tees Valley, which has some of the most deprived wards in the UK. If you could impact change in local communities, what would it be? And how would you do it?
Impact change in local... well, I think from our point of view, is we're trying to... we stayed in the Tees Valley, this region for a reason. It's our home. It's where we grew up. It's where, everyone, our families have been in business for a long time. So we're trying to invest it in this essentially by just building better infrastructure. We just want to. All I can control at the moment is just I want to just develop the town centre, the outer areas. There's lots of dilapidated buildings, and this sounds straight from a building point of view. And that we can get our hands on and develop and build, and that will just hopefully boost. We're trying to get more people to live in the area, so it's very much sort of I don't know how I feel, but it's very much sort of drive in, work. People leave. There's a lot of money in the area, but a lot of people sort of live out the area, sort of probably your Yarms and a bit around. So we can try and build nicer accommodation in the area for people to live in, and then spend the money in the town, and then it will all pick up. I'm not really sure how to do it, but.
Thank you, Jack. There's a hand going up at the back. Can we get a mic to that person for the last question for Jack?
Hi, Jack.
Hi.
You've got a very interesting story, really. I need to give you a big shout out for that. I've got two questions. The first one is, you started your business when you were 19 and you're pretty young. And then money started coming in, you were getting loans and everything. What stopped you from just cashing out and just head straight to Las Vegas and just blow all that money? I mean, you're still
the bank manager, probably, no. To be honest, it's going to sound really cliche, but we're not done. We're literally at the start of our journey, but just the passion for it. I love it. We could have cashed out, but then I'd just be sitting there probably with a pot of money thinking, oh, I'll just put it straight back in again. Because it's just absolutely love what you do. Like when you find a passion, like I think it's really, a lot of people say is the best way to sort of start a business is find what you're passionate about, a hobby, and then try and turn that into a business and try and grow it from there. So our hobby essentially was building work from a young age. We loved building, we loved sort of the property world. So say to you, like, if I could cash out now, like say if someone came and offered me, you know, a load of money or whatever, like I wouldn't take it because I just love growing what we're going to do. Because I just passionate about it, and I said, yeah, off to Las Vegas. And I mean, it sounds quite tempting, doesn't it? But no, I'm not for me. But yeah, I think just being in love with the business we're in, and we've built such a nice culture and a nice sort of like environment. I just want to ride the wave really now, I think, to be honest.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jack. Can I give you the last word? What would you like to tell these people about growing a business right here in Tees Valley?
Oh, you've got there's some awesome people. I mean, you've just heard from two of the best people here. I mean, you've got multi-award winners all sitting around in here. There's loads of good people and good investment and good businesses in the area. And it's just use them. You know, they're here. They're right on our doorstep. Go meet them. Go sort of like network with them. As far as we're point of view, like we sort of employed like good local people. They all want to work hard. They all want to stay in the area. They all want to sort of like improve the area. Yeah, just up the borough, I guess.
Up the borough, yes! Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Up the borough, Jack Atha, everybody! And I'd now like to welcome to the stage Sophia Gowland from the Petite agency and Matthew Protheroe-Hill from Sencode, cyber security. So we've got, hello Matthew. Yes, take a seat. Thank you for joining us. Hello.
Thank you.
Come and sit down. Okay, and our last panelists tonight. So can I start by asking you to tell the audience about your journey, just so they got a clue as to who you are, what you do, why you do it. So, Sophia, can we start with you?
Yes, is this on? Is it working?
It is.
So my name is Sophia Gowland. My company is called Petite Agency, and it's a marketing company. We specialise in social media and personal branding. I was one of the mad ones who started a business in lockdown. I was a marketing manager. I don't know whether it was stupid or smart, but we'll see. I was working as a marketing manager at a construction company at the time, and I'd always wanted to have my own business. Never had the confidence to do it. Was turning 30, and the world was upside down with COVID, and I thought, you know what else could possibly go wrong, so why don't you just do it? I had an idea for a campaign after years of networking and meeting a lot of local business people. I had this idea for this campaign that I probably don't have time to explain right now, but that is what made my business. And I got talking to so many local entrepreneurs. The campaign included people like Chloe, sat down there, Jack over there. And it was amazing. And then I kind of started a marketing company from there. And now I look after social media for a lot of Northeast and mainly Teesside-based companies. And also personal branding, which is helping to kind of raise the profile of all the amazing entrepreneurs behind them.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Matthew.
Hi, my name is Matthew Protheroe-Hill. I'm one of the co-founders of Sencode Cybersecurity. And Sencode, again, like Sophia, we started up in the pandemic. We incorporated just before, at the end of 2019, and then found ourselves in that situation. And I guess Sencode's story began with being at Teesside University and meeting like-minded people. We started a society, which we really enjoyed and did various bits and bobs for the other students there. And then, we just went on to eventually, our third year, decide that, it was the right thing to do to during our time at university, we did a lot of networking at various expos, and we started to identify various areas that we thought we could address in cybersecurity. So by our third year, we decided to bite the bullet and get incorporated and set up a little business.
And such an important business, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's cybersecurity is it's a growing problem. It's never ending. What Sencode does is offer penetration testing services and cyber awareness training. For those of you who don't know what penetration testing is,
I didn't want to ask, but I'm so glad you.
It sounds, I promise you. Basically, we simulate cyber attacks for businesses to identify any vulnerabilities that have either in their network infrastructure or the software, and then we create a report for them, and then they're able to mitigate any risks that we turn up.
So am I correct in thinking this is like white hat hacking?
White hat, yeah, ethical hacking,
right.
White hat hacking.
Okay.
Yes. And then there's the cyber awareness side of things as well, which is more my side. I'm not as technical as my talented co-partner, Callum Duncan, who some of you might have come across.
Thank you. And Sophia, your business, you know, what is the sort of the most exciting thing for you doing your business?
So the social media part of it, everybody I suppose knows what social media is, so it's just nice to work with the businesses like the local ones and get the word out there about what they do. But I think the personal branding side is what is becoming more and more exciting, especially because I am still quite a small company. I'm only 2 years in, so it's pretty much looking after Teesside based entrepreneurs and helping to get their story out. People like Jack, who you've just heard from, I work with him and his amazing twin Tom, and we help to get that Atha property twin story out there. And it's people like that, it's really exciting because there's a lot of stories to tell, and sometimes they don't know it themselves. They just kind of think, you know, they've got their head down, they're doing a good job, they're working hard, and there's more to it than that. So we help tell their stories and hopefully inspire other people with them.
Fabulous. Okay, audience, what are your best questions for Matthew and Sophia? Yes. Can we hear from this person over here?
Hello. Hi. So, well, mine may not be the best question. You said you're looking for the best questions. I just wanted to ask them, like, starting a business, probably they were working full-time before, as one of them mentioned. So now that you've started your business, do you still work somewhere, maybe part-time sort of arrangement, or still work full-time and still run your business, or you are fully focused on your business? Thank you.
Great question. So you're talking about the transition from working for someone else to fully working for yourselves. Do you both fully work for yourselves now? So what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was in hospitality for 15 years, so I'd already had quite a lengthy career, which ended in me running around a 260-cover restaurant in Darlington. And at that point, I just thought, you know what, I want to do something different. So that's when I went back to university. And in terms of working for yourself, you know, when you've worked for someone else for so long, you just know when it's time to do that, if that's what's in you. And like the guys before as well, we didn't necessarily pay ourselves very much to begin with. It wasn't about the money. It was about identifying that thing that you really want to do, and the gaps that you really want to plug, and taking it from there, really.
So did you continue working and then start your business as a sideline and then move over, or you just stopped working and started your business?
As I say, we're in our third year at university, so I've gone to university and incorporated just in our last year at uni. We'd already decided before we'd finished our degrees that, yeah, we wanted to start this. So.
Fantastic. Sophia, how about you?
So probably a bit of a weird answer, but I am a very all-in or all-out person, so I did always try and start this business when I was working full-time. I tried to have it as a side hustle, whatever they call it, but I just couldn't do it because I think I'm quite a dedicated person. So my full-time job, it wasn't just a 9 to 5 for me. I was kind of fully bought into that business, that culture, making it work for them. So I was still thinking about their business on a night. It just never really worked for me, but I know it does work for so many people to do it on the side first, and it's probably the sensible move. But then, as Matthew just said, when the time feels right, I do think you know, and that happened to be at the start of lockdown when I knew, and I thought you just need to start it now. So I went all in and handed my notice in and just hope for the best.
Was that very exciting or very scary?
I don't know how I found I don't know how I found the balls to do it, but I did. It was exciting, but obviously just full of anxiety and scary. Yeah, it's just a mix of everything.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next question, please. Yes, we have somebody at the back. The back row.
Hello. You both quite recently won awards for your businesses, which is huge congratulations from me, by the way. But
2 in one night, in fact,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, last week. Well done. And I think Sencode did the same at Teesside last year too, or earlier this year, 2 awards in one night as well. I just wanted to ask you how winning awards has impacted on your business, and you know the value of other businesses going for awards in your position.
I'll let you answer first.
Yeah, sure. I think it's absolutely incredible. Really winning at the Teesside Awards in, I think it was May, wasn't it? We managed to pick up Small Business of the Year. We were finalists for Best Newcomer, and Callum, my business partner, got Rising Star as well. And to go away with those awards and the amount of hype that was around that and support, it really helped to put Sencode on the map. And that was really a turning point for us as a business, because we just didn't stop after that. It's just been crazy ever since. And now to the point where we're fully booked up until January next year, and we're really looking at how we're going to start growing our business now and taking on more staff.
Thank you. Sophia?
Well, mine was only on Thursday, so I'm still very in the thick of what's happening from that, to the point where Lizzie actually had to text me and remind me to come here tonight, because she knows I'm chained to my laptop and my phone non-stop. But already you can see the value that it's having, the amount of LinkedIn messages, the amount of people that are getting in touch, and they notice your business, they notice your services, they look into you a lot more, they'll kind of try and find out who your clients are and see the work. And obviously I'm sure all these guys are the same, like you've been grafting to do such a good job that when you finally get that award you think, oh, thank God for that, someone's noticing what I've been doing and people are going to see it, and I can see it's already going to pay off. And as Matthew's just said, and I know Chloe at Wonder Films, they've had like a similar journey, I can see how it does really pay off for people. So I'm just really grateful that I won too. I don't know how it happened, but very grateful.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask a question while the audience thinks of their questions. What's something that, maybe a myth that's been busted about having your own business that you believed and you thought this was the right way of doing it, or you had to do this and you found out that's just bullshit?
I think it's over-glamorised still, and I had a really naive view. I used to sit on LinkedIn, because I was always desperate to work for myself, and I used to sit and look at all these business owners, like watch people and think, oh wow, imagine having that life, it must be so exciting, you get to go to meetings.
You mean this isn't fabulous? This is so glamorous, right?
Well, mine is tonight, obviously, and winning awards on Thursday, but take those out of the picture, it's not glamorous whatsoever. And I think you look and you still think, oh, you get to go to all these meetings, all these fancy events, you get to be your own boss and you get to work your own hours and no one tells you what to do. That's not true. Yes, they do. Your clients tell you what to do. Instead of having one boss where he tells you what to do, you then have 30 clients asking you for loads of different things, and you don't get to switch off. You don't get to think, oh, I'm working 9 to 5 today, then I'm done, because there'll always be something else. So I just think sometimes it's a little bit over-glamorised, and the reality of it is you'll work harder than you've ever worked in your life, but it'll be the best thing you ever do.
Wow, thank you. Well, I'm just going to give that inspiring answer there, truthful.
Thinking about it now, one myth which I busted myself as I was going through the process was that to have a company like ours, you have to be very corporate, you have to be, suits and ties, 9 to 5, and it just doesn't work like that. And again, it goes back to authenticity. The more you can be yourself and connect with people that you can help, the much better off you are as a business, and you enjoy it more as well. So try not to be too straight-laced and suited and booted and stiff.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, audience, yes! Yes, we have. Can we get a mic down here?
Oh, no.
Mr. Atha, sir, your question?
When setting up your own business, obviously, what was the best and worst advice someone gave you, whether you took it or not?
Brilliant question.
Fantastic question. So these two stick in my mind quite a lot. I don't know if you've got two specific answers for these, but the worst advice I was ever given was I went for a coffee with a male who's in business in Teesside, and we were sat together, and he said, no matter what's happening in business, because I'm in business on my own, like a little bit different to a lot of the guys here, so you're on your own, and it can be quite tough. And he's like, no matter what, always tell everyone that everything's fine. Always say you're making more money than you've ever made, you've got more clients than you've ever had, you're busier than ever, and it's just fantastic, and you're loving life. Always just say that everything's fantastic. And at the time I thought, I think I disagree, but I won't say anything. He knows better than me. He's already in business. I'm 2 years in now, and I just could not disagree more, and I think it's the worst advice you could ever give to someone. As a start-up, I think it's horrific advice, actually, because you should always be honest about what's going on in your business, and actually if you've lost some clients, then if you've got a trusted network around you, you could reach out and say, oh, do you know what, I need some more business, I'm not that busy, can you help me, do you have any referrals, can I help you with any of your projects? And if you're, I don't know, struggling to employ, go and speak to, I mean, me personally, I might go and speak to Chloe and Lou at Wonder Films, because they're a couple of years ahead of me. You should be honest about things, because there's an amazing business network around Teesside who will help you. So my worst advice is my best advice now to other people, is to always just be honest about what's going on in your business. And then the best advice I was ever given was actually from Dean Benson, the guy who founded VisualSoft. And I went to him and was like, I don't think I know what I'm doing. I want to start a business, but I'm scared. And he was like, what are you scared of? And I said, that I don't know what I'm doing. And he went, but no one knows what they're doing. Like, you'll learn it when you start, so just get started. And I was just like, well, if someone who's as successful as him can say that, then I'll go for it. And I have, and I still chat to him monthly and go, thank you so much for that advice, because it was amazing.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that great question. Thank you for that fabulous answer. Matthew, best and worst advice?
I think the worst advice is probably don't go into business with your best friends. That's absolute nonsense. It's worked for us, and I can't see it not working in the future. That's part of, and again, that's what Bruce is saying, it's about the people that you're with, and you have to have that like-minded, share the vision of the common, have that in common, share the vision of where you want the business to go. In terms of best advice, I had it a minute ago, I forgot.
What advice would you give somebody else then for starting a business, or somebody who has a small startup and wants to grow and get bigger? What's that piece of advice maybe that you don't read in business books or hear anywhere else, the bit you'd say to your best friend?
Sure. Trust your gut. Go with what you think's right. You're obviously going to get it wrong a few times, but don't be afraid of failing, because that's what really makes you learn and grow and know what to do next. And you just go from one failure to the next, and eventually you start getting it right over and over again. And each of those failures aren't really failures, they're just lessons to help you get to the next step and succeed. So keep going.
Thank you. Sophia?
I wasn't thinking about my answer, I was listening to his. What was the question?
What advice would you give to somebody else who's starting out?
I think growing your network is really important. Going back to what I said 5 minutes ago, that I'm a business on my own, there's obviously a lot of benefits about growing a network in general, but actually for me, the networks kept me sane for 2 years, because when you don't have a business partner, it's really hard and it's really lonely, and there's a lot of decisions to make, and there's a lot of all these big kind of answers you've got to think about. But if you've built a good network around you and you've got trusted people, you can go to them and they'll have probably been there and done it themselves. And what's like a massive mountain to you is actually just a teeny tiny problem to them, and they can give you the answer of how to solve it a lot quicker than you would have ever worked out by yourself.
Thank you very much. Fabulous answers. Okay, audience, questions for Matthew and Sophia. Yes, there's a hand up here. Thank you.
My question is, how did you get to like advertise your business? So you have a startup. How do you get clients or customers to get to know your business? Most especially for the tech guy, because you start a product and you want clients to come in to follow up with your product, buy your product, buy your idea, and keep coming. So how do you get it to sell? How do you attract people? Like, and also what sources? Like, do you use social media? What are the means, the various means? It could be eclectic of sources. Could it just be one?
Yes, it's a great question. Again, because we were starting up in the pandemic, we found that what we perceived was going to be our best way to get ourselves out there, the networking, wasn't going to be available. So we really had to come up with a plan to get our name out there without actually going and meeting people and networking in a traditional sense. So we really focused on LinkedIn. That was the big thing for us. We made sure we marketed regularly, not too salesy, just putting stuff out there that was useful advice. And I think inadvertently we ended up looking like a much bigger, by the end of the pandemic, we ended up looking a lot bigger than we actually were. So when it came to the awards and winning the awards and the amount of exposure that we got from that and the influx of interest in what we were doing in our services, we kind of, as Sophia said earlier, the floodgates open, you're just a little bit overwhelmed. So yeah, just stick at social media marketing, do it cross-platform, find out where your audience is and where they're hanging out. Don't just pepper all of the platforms, try and figure out where your ideal client's going to be, essentially, and then try and target them that way.
Thank you. Sophia?
I mean, the perfect answer when you sat next to a social media and marketing agency. Our journeys were very similar, weren't they? Because we both used LinkedIn to kind of grow our network and get people interested in the businesses. Me personally, this might contradict an answer I gave a little bit earlier, but when I did that campaign that I started, 50% was fully, I want to help and I know I can kind of give some value to people from this network. The other 50% was a little bit selfish, and I thought, I know if I do these videos and I do this campaign, it will stand out and it's a little bit different to what other people are doing. And it worked. The first client I got in was Mike Racks, and if you don't know who he is, Racks Group are a massively successful company based in Wynyard, Teesside. They have about 60 Domino's franchises, a lot of Costa franchises, gyms, all sorts, and he was my first client, and that came from doing those videos, and it was all organic. And I've never done anything to do with any ads. I've not even had a website yet. It only went live last week. So it was all organic, all through LinkedIn. And I think what Matthew said, find the right platform for where your audience is going to be.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, more questions from the audience? Yes. Can we get the mic to this person over here? Lizzie. This person.
I just wanted to ask how important it is to have a business mentor or a mentor in business.
That was a bit of advice I forgot. Have a great mentor.
So, I suppose it's a little bit like what I've just said about being in business by yourself and going into your network. So you can have people who are your official mentors, and I have one, which is that guy who I said was my first client, Mike, and we monthly meet up. I tell him where I'm at with kind of clients, with work, with staff, with goals, all that sort of stuff. But then you can have mentors that don't even know they are mentors, and you can look up to people and just kind of take note of their journey and look at what they're doing. There's probably people in this room who don't even realise they're mentors to me, but they are, because they're ahead of me in business, are successful, and they're where I aspire to be. But definitely find a good mentor that fits you and your values, and if you don't feel like they're going to fit in with what you want, then try and make sure you find the one who does, because the value that they give can be amazing, and it can, when you're going through hard times in business, it can just be amazing for you and for like your business as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. There are so many different kinds of mentors out there. You might have fleeting ones online, again, because of the pandemic, that tended to be the case. Or you can have really involved mentors that really care about what you're doing, where you're going, and they're really there to help you. And they're a fit for you in terms of their experience. So you may have may have the opportunity to work with an amazing, successful person, but it might not necessarily mean that they're going to be a good mentor for you because of the fact that you're doing something so differently or in a very different journey to begin with. So do look for the right mentor. That's the best advice I've had that I forgot to mention earlier. And yeah, you don't necessarily just need the one mentor. I'd consider, I think I've got at least half a dozen mentors, whether they know it or not. So yeah, always ask for advice and find a good mentor.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes, we do. I'm going to ask a question of my own, and then we're going to end with your question. Is that good? Yeah. Can you tell me what your wish is for the Tees Valley and what you'd like to see in terms of how your businesses and yourselves can inspire the other people in the Tees Valley and make this place as good as it really can be?
Matthew?
No! We're going with you first!
Oh, wow, I don't know my answer. I need a second to think.
Okay, Matthew.
Yeah, I think this again was another thing that was very very important to us, is that we did stay in the Tees Valley and we gave back to our roots. I'm actually from York originally, but I've moved up here. I've been up here for about 5 or 6 years and fallen in love with the place. But the other thing as well is trying to just capture, and this is something we did when we had the society in university, is just try and capture the talent that's coming through the ranks, the local talent, that we are losing so much of to larger cities like Manchester, like London, or even Newcastle, just going a bit further up. So that's really important, to make sure there's opportunities for them to be able to actually stay here if they want to, and ensure that they've got all the tools that they have to be able to do that.
Thank you. Sophia?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's even some really good charities locally. I mean, there's the Tech Equal. That's a new charity to give all of like the iPads and the software to children to help them get that advantage in life. So there's a lot more happening around here now to help the younger generations. I think when you come from maybe underprivileged areas, you don't really see that you might be able to have the good jobs or that you might be able to build a business, but you can, and there's so many examples of that around here as well. And I think it's nice that we're all able to hire people. I mean, look at what these guys, how many jobs these guys have created around here.
Fabulous what they're doing, all of them. Thank you. And the last question for these panellists, unless I ask another one. Where are we for time?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. The more you talk, the more questions keep coming to my mind. A lot of things, but I can't ask everything. I'm wondering how related is your previous role to your current role? So when I ask like that, I mean, like, for instance, Matthew said he has worked 15 years in the hospitality industry. Now he's in cybersecurity stuff. So I'm wondering, what's the relation between your previous role and the current role? Is it a complete deviation from what you were doing or still in line? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as far away from hospitality as I could possibly get, I guess. And that's, I mean, part of that was deliberate. Part of it was because I have a passion for that side of things, security and tech. So, but there are a lot of transferable skills as well. So when you're managing a busy restaurant, you need to be able to, you've obviously got a lot of soft skills there. And organisation is key. So there's a few transferable skills that you can bring to your own business, of course. Yeah.
Thank you. Sophia?
So mine's obviously directly related to what I was doing. I've always been a kind of marketing manager of some form in other people's businesses. Now I've been doing that for 2 years for my own clients. So obviously it's directly related there, but then when you become an entrepreneur, I suppose that's your new role, and nobody teaches you how to do that. So then all of a sudden you're learning on the job about how to become a great leader, like these guys are saying, how to hire the right people, how to create the right culture. So as much as the industry is directly related, I think anytime you start your own business, you all of a sudden have this new job title that you wouldn't have done before, so you have to learn from scratch anyway, really.
Fabulous. Yes. One, I'm just going to leave the last word with you. In terms of Global Entrepreneurship Week, what would you say to these people? Like, what's the one piece that you would give them that they would take away with from here tonight?
If you've got a business idea, no matter what stage it's at, go for it, explore it. Try and go as far, run with it as far as you can. You've got an amazing support network here. You know, you can't really put a foot wrong. You might find out it's not for you, but chances are if it's what you really want to do, just go for it. Go for it and keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. Sophia, last word with you.
I echo what Matthew just said there. If you've got an idea, go for it and don't overthink it. I have had this business idea. I've certainly wanted to do it the whole of my 20s, and it took me till I was in my 30s to start it, because I was overthinking and worrying that people might think what she's doing. She doesn't know how to do a business. She doesn't know why she's doing it. And actually, if you just get started and you can take baby steps and do it, don't overthink it. Don't give yourself too much pressure. If you've got an idea, go for it and just see where it takes you. Don't be scared to fail along the way.
Fabulous. Thank you very, very much. Some fantastic advice coming from all of our panelists. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody here tonight, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've had lots of interesting ideas and advice. And can we please just thank our panelists one more time? Chloe Clover, please. Wonder Films. Bruce Slater. Jack Atha. Sophia Gowland. And Matthew Protheroe-Hill. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And I also want to say a really big thank you to the people who made tonight possible, which is Scott from Digital City and Steve from Launchpad and Lizzie Dixon, who's made this entire thing possible with her team. So thank you very much. Thanks to all the people who worked tonight's event. And please, I encourage you all to hang out, grab some more food, coffee, and chat to the panelists who would love to meet you all. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.